Hey there, fellow humans. If you're new, hi, my name is Mary, and this is my vlog channel where I talk about things that I just don't quite understand in the world. And today, one of those things just happens to be social media. What do you know? Okay, before I go any further, I just want to talk about what inspired this whole entire video. So I was just minding my business. I want to say it was 2 nights ago, maybe 3, I don't know, I've lost track of time, when I clicked on the YouTube app and saw that the trending page was missing, right? It has now officially been replaced with the shorts, right? Now, for a while, YouTube have had the shorts kind of in beta. They've kind of had like the bigger YouTubers kind of toying around with it. It's been available for me as well. I don't know if like what the threshold is that you needed to have as far as subscribers, but I know that it was there for me to kind of do. I just really didn't tamper with it just because I'm moving too fast. Let's back up. So I definitely consider myself to be one of those early adapters of technology, of social media, of all of it, right? I've always been an online world enthusiast, and like for the longest, like anything that has to do with virtual works very well with me. However, in the year 2009, I believe it was, Fetus Mary made a discovery. She had sort of an awakening, an epiphany, if you may. And I realized that I had 5,000 friends on Facebook, meaning that if you sent me a request, you no longer could be my friend because I'd reached the cap. They may have changed it, I don't know, okay? But at that point, 5,000 was the max, and I had reached that, right? So you could not ask to be my friend. You could ask, but it would tell you that I'd reached the maximum capacity. Twitter had just started then, and I think I had like 400 subscribers. I was making YouTube videos then, but I wasn't really consistent. I was really just doing car vlogs and talking about things that pissed me off. So that doesn't really count. But I think I had at that time like also 1,000 subscribers or something like that, if that. And then on Instagram, I think I also had like 800 followers or something like that, right? So Facebook was the first one to go. Okay, I don't know why, but I just one day woke up and I was like, let's be real, you can't keep up with 5,000 people. Like, you don't want to keep up with 5,000 people. And let's be honest, you don't care what 5,000 of these people are doing on an everyday basis. I don't know what it was. I think I started to seek out a deeper meaning, and I no longer had an affinity for surface level friendships. I think, that's the best way to put it. And so Facebook had to go. I still had Instagram at that time and Twitter. Twitter was just, to me, my way of dumping my thoughts, but like, in little small bits. So that was really fun. So I want to say probably a year after that, Instagram was canceled. I still had like a Twitter, but it was for like a podcast or a radio show that I once wanted to start and never really got around to it. So I never really posted on that. I think I just used it to log in and check updates. Nevertheless, I was officially social media-less, right? I didn't really have any way of connecting to the social world. But I have to say that probably was the most liberating time of my life. And keep in mind, this is pre-trends, right? Pre-having to keep up, pre-influencers. Okay, people weren't even getting paid to have Instagram pages at that time. But even then, I just felt like I no longer have this thing that I'm toggling at every day, right? I can go out and live, I can travel more, I can make more real human connections, and et cetera, et cetera. So that was a fun time. It was almost like I was kind of like on the early end of things. And then in 2015, my channel started to grow, right? Not this channel, but the main channel. And I was like, I think I'd rather focus on one thing. So 9 months have passed by. Now we're in 2016. My best friend passes away. I moved to Dubai, and I feel disconnected from everything and everyone, right? Because not only am I no longer in my own geographical comfort zone, but I am still mourning, or at least dealing with the after effects of losing someone that was very close to me. And then I also was getting pressure from the fans. Everyone's like, make a Snapchat. So that was the first thing I did. I made a Snapchat, and that didn't last. I think I was on there for 3 months, and like the pics it got too much, guys. Like I just could not believe that these random people were asking me to make a Snapchat just for the sole purpose of sending me their male private parts. So that had to go too. Now came Instagram, and I was using it to kind of post my Dubai updates, to a little bit kind of like stay in touch with my followers because I just wasn't doing videos on the level that I was doing it when I first started and when I first became consistent. But nevertheless, like, I just didn't feel the connection, right? It felt like I was faking it. And when I say faking it, I mean, like, I can definitely tell I was doing myself a disservice, just all in the name of like staying available for, you know, strangers on the internet. So once again, that didn't last. I think 3 months after I deleted my Snapchat, I deleted my Instagram. And that was true liberation. Because then at that point, I think people had started to get paid to be influencers. A lot of people were coming to Dubai. Dubai, it became like the place to go. So people were reaching out to me that I didn't even know simply because I lived there. And it was just much. So after cutting that off, and I just had time to really focus on my personal life and moving back to the States, et cetera, it was so liberating because I just remember making videos and being able to focus on just that, right? Making them, editing them, responding to comments. I was just so like interactive. But then once you started adding all these other pieces, it was just like my brain was doing so much overtime because, again, it's not something that I had gotten used to doing. And to be honest, I just really didn't see the purpose of it, right? Till this day, I can honestly tell you that YouTube was so much more fulfilling, effective. I don't know, I guess I could say I had the best balance of online and the real world. I had cracked the code, right? I was able to put up 4 videos a day, okay? I was hammering them out at that rate and still be able to work, right? I was traveling a lot for work. I was taking my camera with me, somehow getting it done. And even when I would take like trips to go see my family or whatever else, I would pre-film. So let's say I was gone for a week, I'd pre-film 28 videos. And I managed to do all of that without burning out, right? So back to the story that I was telling you in the beginning now about the YouTube Shorts. This is just another attempt, you know, to compete, right? Because in essence, YouTube Shorts are like the equivalent of Instagram Reels, which Instagram also started stories because of Snapchat stories. Snapchat started because Vine went dead. It really kicked in when Vine went away, right? And a lot of Viners were moving over to YouTube. So what am I saying? It's just like a circle, right? It's a rat race that you'll never stop running. People seem to talk about the corporate rat race a lot, right? We already know what that looks like. Go to school, graduate, get a good job, work your way up the ladder, and keep going. And then nowadays, that was back in our parents', you know, time. Millennials and Gen Z, we don't even work the same job for the rest of our lives. The last survey I read said that the average millennial or Gen Z will work 6 jobs or more, right? Before they retire. So again, that's a hell of a rat race in a hell of a lot of industries, right? If you move around a lot. And so I'm saying all that to say that we just don't discuss enough the social implications of the internet rat race, right? Just trying to keep up, even as a creator. So like, as someone that's just watching, that's a fan, that also has an effect on your mental health. Like, there's no doubt about it, because I see it a lot in the comments, my comments and other creators' comments, right? Because you're comparing yourself to this person. You're like, wow, they live such a glamorous life, blah, 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 et cetera, et cetera. We're not gonna get on that cliche horse, right? But I just want to point out that even as a creator, even as someone that puts out content, there is that level of keeping up. It's like, oh, TikTok's gonna be the new thing. Gary Vee predicted that TikTok's gonna blow up. We better hurry up and get on it. And while all of that is great and dandy, because at the end of the day, what do you want? Exposure, right? At the end of the day, what do you want? Likes, comments, follows. And all those things are great. But the reason that I ultimately walked away from it was just because I realized that from a personal level and from an intrinsic level, I just was not getting any value. Does that make sense? It's not that I don't understand the power of marketing in our world, right? I understand it too well, almost. But I noticed I could never authentically run the race. I would always get tired before I even got the chance to pass the baton, right? Or before I got to the finish line. And for the longest, I'd just chalked it up to self-sabotage, right? I've had this conversation with myself so much because I'm very reflective, right? And I'm like, oh, you're just sabotaging yourself? How come every time something's about to blow up for you online, you just kind of duck, right? What are you running from? Like, do you just not want the spotlight? Is it the fame that you don't want? Blah, blah, blah. And recently I just had an honest conversation with myself, and I'm like, it has little to do with that. I want to make an impact, so I know I've got to have an audience to a certain extent. But at what cost is really what you have to ask yourself, right? Are you willing to be that person that cannot enjoy an experience without the guilt of not having your camera on, right? You can't have a meal until you've recorded. You can't have a conversation with your friends without checking your social media in between. Or you can't just go hang out with them without making it part of some type of footage and content, right? I think everything in life is about balance, ultimately, and that's what I've come to. I don't know what the future holds for me and even for the rest of us, but I just know that the rate at which we are consuming media online is not sustainable, right? The creator burnout is real. Your favorite creators are burning out. You guys are having mental issues from watching us, right? And so I didn't make this video to convince you to cancel your Instagram or Twitter or TikTok or Facebook or whatever you're using. I'm sharing a story because I want you guys to see that ultimately the goal of social media platforms is to keep you glued in, is to keep you zombied out, right? And so I've seen a lot of them adopting similar things, right? All trying to compete, coming up with their own version of that next thing. But for some reason, the shorts just hit me because, again, YouTube is a platform that I use primarily, right? And so I catch all the changes, head on. I guess I made this video for that person who's kind of on the fence, right? You love social media, but you hate it, right? If you don't do it for work, this shouldn't even be a dilemma. I can tell you for a fact right now that if I was never online, if I never created this online world, it would be a no-brainer. I would have left in 2009 and never came back. There's nothing to return for. To be honest, I don't feel like I'm missing out on much as a consumer. And I think that's the ultimate conclusion that I've come to, is that I don't have to consume just because I'm creating. Some people have a hard time doing that because they go on their Explore page or whoever they're following comes on their feed. I don't have that issue. And so I feel like I'm using social media to the most minimal level, if that makes sense, or at the most minimal level. Even at my level, I'm like, it's overwhelming sometimes. So I don't know how people who literally cannot survive a day without going on Instagram, I don't know how they function. I don't understand how. I hope I get to the main point of this rant by the time I'm done, because I'm just kind of talking right now. I didn't make notes, and this is what happens when I don't make notes. But this is my vlog channel, so I can do what I want, okay? I'm here for it. I hope you're here for it. If you are, keep watching. So yeah, man, do I think social media should be canceled? Absolutely not. I have seen it do some amazing things in people that I know's lives, and other people that I don't know that I just kind of, hear of the story. It is a powerful tool. It is a tool that can be used for positivity. But I guess just like everything in life, if positive things come, negatives are gonna come with it. I guess I'm just saying that the reason I chose ultimately to leave it back then is still the same reason why I don't use it the same now. Does that make sense? I came back on ultimately because I knew that I was gonna build a brand, not really necessarily off of my name, my face, but because I knew that as an entrepreneurial person, there were gonna be things that I came up with that I would want to kind of have hands-on, in the beginning stages. Does that make sense? But ultimately, the goal is to transfer it, to pay someone else to worry about that. If you're new to my channel, I started a lipstick business. The link will be down below very recently here in March. And so even though I'm using social media as a business tool, I'm exhausted. So for those that are using it on a personal level, how is it for you? Comment below and let me know, how are you guys managing? How do you manage to not have a mental breakdown when all you do all day long is compare yourself to strangers on the internet who have a nicer body than you or have more money than you, who wear all these nice clothes and shoes that they're getting gifted? You're at home stressing about not having enough, and they're not even paying for half of the stuff that they're wearing, right? It's just mind-boggling, the level of comparison that I just keep seeing occurring. And I cannot lie and tell you that social media has had an effect on my mental health. I wish I could say that's what it was. I've had a series of traumatic events that have ultimately led me to having to get help for my depression and anxiety. Nevertheless, those were personal things that happened in my life that had a lot more to do with people that I met and situations that I involved myself in that ultimately were not the best for me, right? Now I'm wondering if my argument, this whole entire video, is a fluke. Because technically I'm saying to you guys that I have created an online world of people who are predictable, who are very candid about what they expect from me. In essence, I know what I'm getting and what I'm giving in return. I don't know, is this argument for or against social media at this point? Now I'm wondering. Because now that I think about it, contrary to most people, social media has given me a lot less trauma than human beings have. It's kind of like people say about their animals. They're like, oh yeah, animals are to be trusted, humans aren't. This is how I'm starting to feel. By no means am I one of those people that gets confused and thinks that like my audience are my friends. They're not. You guys are not. Okay, at the end of the day, I can't call you at 2 a.m. in the morning if I'm having a mental breakdown. Okay, I know what you expect from me and I know what to expect back, right? But at least it's a candid relationship. At least I know that it's surface level. At least I know that I'm providing a service. Does that make sense? And I've never been traumatized by it. So maybe the point of my whole video is that I got off of social media in the right timing enough to not be so plugged in to be affected by it. So now that I'm back on, it doesn't have the same effect. I'm not scrolling for hours on end, right? I'm not reading irrelevant things. I'm not putting toxic thing in my psyche. I'm not injecting self-doubt and low self-esteem and whatever have you. I'm not injecting limiting beliefs based on what I'm seeing online. So if you're watching this and you are just a consumer, I definitely advise that you take baby steps if you are looking to, wean yourself off. For me, I'm one of those cold turkey people. I just have the cold turkey shit. But the average human needs to be weaned off of things like that. So maybe start off with screen time on your iPhone, if you have one, right? I don't know how to set it for Androids, but I know that iOS lets you set your screen time. Maybe set it down to an hour if you always did 2 or 3, or if you notice you're doing it all day, right? Maybe start with that. Maybe the next step is that you just delete the app, but maybe not your account yet. But maybe you go 3 months, 4 months, 5 months. I'm telling you, the time passes and you realize, man, I don't even miss it. And before you know it, you'll be able to just delete your account or just deactivate it, right? Deactivate it. And I don't know if it's 2 weeks or a month before they actually totally delete the thing, but deactivate it and see. I don't know, was it Twitter that does that? One of them did that where like I deactivated it and then like after 2 weeks of not getting on, it completely deleted. I think it was Twitter, right? Some of those platforms are like this. And if you realize that you don't log in any of that time, well, I guess you just beat your social media addiction and you just got out of the race. Congratulations to you. Again, this is just if you've been wanting to do it. I'm not trying to sit here as a hypocrite still on social media telling you to get off, because technically I'm not on. I don't even have the app. How's that? I don't have the Instagram app on my phone. Twice I've uploaded this year, I believe, and I've logged in. I've had to download it just to do that. Nevertheless, I'm not saying you have to live your life the way that I'm living it. Do you? Okay, we're all different. I'm just saying that perhaps we should start reassessing how we're using social media. And maybe you're like watching this video and you're thinking, Mary, well, not everybody wants to start a business, okay? Well, not everybody wants to take life seriously. Some of us want to go online and get a laugh. Some of us want to go and like, every hot guy's picture or hot girl's picture and it's fine with me. I'm okay with the mental damage that it does. Good for you, right? Like I said, the world needs balance. So we need the addicts in life, okay? I guess I'm just sharing my story, right? And if it resonates with anybody, then, comment below and let's see what the thought process is. This video is a little bit all over the place, so I maybe will come back and do a part 2 or when my thoughts are a little more gathered, but I just wanted to make it because I could not believe that the Google machine has adopted its own version of Reels and TikTok. Like, when does it end? Do you know what I mean? It's like, how many different platforms that essentially do the same thing do we need to get our message across? You know what I mean? Like, I'm at the point that I would be quite okay with a monopoly at this point. Like, let's all just pick one, make that one relevant, the other ones die, and at least we know that that's what we can focus on. Because I don't know about you guys, but like, I can't keep up. I just can't. I couldn't. I'm gonna end it here because I feel like I've been talking for like an hour. My mouth's getting dry, everything. Eid Mubarak. To my Muslim brothers and sisters out there, it's ideal just because I happen to turn the camera on today. And yeah, guys, wow. That was a hell of a brain dump. I actually just started a podcast, right? I'm gonna link it down below since we're on it. If you made it to this part of the video, you're fit for the podcast because this is kind of what the format is gonna be like. It is actually titled Verbose, a podcast by Mary, and that is gonna be where I just dump a whole bunch of my stuff that if strangers on the internet I happen to want to listen, then go right ahead. It's not gonna have a certain schedule. It's not going to have a certain whatever. It's just whatever comes to mind. I'm going to talk about it on there. And the audio is just so much easier because you don't have to get ready for it, And that's that. I haven't had anything to eat today, so I'm gonna go work on that. I truly hope that if you made it to this part of the video that, you subscribe, come along this journey with me. This channel is very experimental. I'm still figuring out what I'm doing with it, even though I have like a really, really good direction of like the pace and like the kind of content I want to put out. Nevertheless, I just kind of wanted to see how everybody's feeling. Check your pulse. Are you with me? Are you against me? Are you somewhere in the middle? What's social media doing for you right now? How are you guys feeling about the entire thing? Because there's a lot that could be said about it. See you on the next one. Bye.